everyone, and welcome back. This is TheHappieCat here, and today we're going to talk about environmental storytelling. In games, environmental storytelling is a way of delivering the story through the gameplay system and the world itself in a non-linear fashion, without explicitly telling you what's happening through cutscenes or dialogue. It's the visual cues, the scenery, the props, the placement of things. It's an experience you can only have within a carefully designed interactive environment, or a video game. So today we'll take a look at 3 of my favorite examples from Dark Souls 1. Even if you have not played any of the Souls games at all, I'll provide enough background to hopefully give you the context to learn from them. Our first story is told through the artistic design of the dragons. To give background, this world, Wardren, began as a world full of dragons. They were eternal and immortal, and they lived in these gray forests where there were no opposites. There was no conflict until fire appeared, which created light and dark. And humankind emerged from the darkness. Several found the Lord Souls. They became incredibly powerful and went to war to overthrow the dragons. So in summary, we have 3 factions: humans from the dark, gods from the light, and the neutral gray dragons who were persecuted and started dying out since the birth of fire. The first few dragons we see in the game are actually drakes, which seem pretty powerful and terrifying, but through items like the Drake Sword, we find that they're actually the distant kin of dragons. And right here, by the way, I think item descriptions are a great unobtrusive technique of linking a gameplay element to the story, explaining the area or situation the item was found in. So even though it's text directly telling you something, there's no linearity to the little blurbs you find from items. You have to put a bunch of different pieces together to start building the stories of what might have happened. In any case, we see the Hellkite Drake on the bridge of the Undead Burg. We see some smaller blue drakes in the aptly named Valley of Drakes. And these are the healthiest and most numerous dragon-looking things we see in the world. So we might first conclude that the dragons are alive and well, but since we know they're drakes, we have to look a little further to see the state of this faction. Which leads me to one of my favorite design decisions in the game. Further along in the Valley of the Drakes is the Undead Dragon. In the Dark Souls Design Works book, an artist on the team told the story of its creation. He says, "I remember when I was drawing the Undead Dragon. I submitted a draft that depicted a dragon swarming with maggots and other grotesque features. Miyazaki handed it back to me saying, 'This isn't dignified. Don't rely on the gross factor to portray an undead dragon. Can't you instead try to convey the deep sorrow of a magnificent beast doomed to a slow and possibly endless descent into ruin?' This adds a completely different dimension to this enemy. Instead of just being an obstacle in the player's path, it means something. It's a decaying corpse of a once immortal god. It's struggling to pull itself up, but never can quite get there. It's a really emotional symbol of how far this great race has fallen. In contrast, if you go all the way down to Blighttown and all the way down the Great Hollow and all the way across Ash Lake, you can find the last true dragon in the game, and it's massive and mysterious and completely different from any other dragon-like creature you meet. In summary, if you compare the huge immortal dragon to the sad undead one, you can see how far they've fallen. And then now the drakes, just these kind of animalistic lizards, are all that people will really remember of them. Our next story is told primarily through the use of objects and items, the story of Anastasia of Astora. So Anastasia of Astora is the firekeeper of the bonfire at Firelink Shrine. And in case you haven't played, the bonfires are your only semblance of a save point. If you die, you have to go all the way back to the last bonfire you rested at. And the bonfire at Firelink Shrine is one of the most convenient and important hubs for traveling between many different areas throughout the game. So I'm making my way through my own game, right? On my first playthrough, I just finished Blighttown, one of the most infuriating areas in the game. I managed to get out without dying, to get back to Firelink Shrine, and realize that the bonfire's out. Like, what? So it's a great prompt for the player to want to ask, okay, why did the bonfire go out? Let's investigate. I need my Firelink Shrine bonfire. Earlier in the game, you may or may not have noticed a mute girl in a cell below the bonfire. If you happen to do some stuff in the story and you go and look around, you'll see that where she once was, an item drop is ominously in her place. You also receive her clothing, the dingy set, which implies that she was once maybe a normal maiden and then was forced to become a firekeeper. The blood-stained skirt reads that its true origin is lost in patches of blood. Perhaps its former wearer was maimed to prevent escape. So this kind of darkens her situation even more. So it seems like maybe the firekeepers, this wasn't some chosen duty, but it was enslavement. So in summary, this was a great example of using a bread and butter gameplay element that the player has relied on time and time again, the bonfire, using that safe place to twist their expectations and create real urgency to investigate a subplot and a side quest. Our last story is actually a level. It's several interwoven stories through the placement of enemies within Sen's fortress. To give context, after completing the first 2 areas of the game and ringing 2 bells, a giant opens the gate to Sen's fortress. This place was built as a test for knights to see who was worthy to enter the city of the gods, Anor Londo. In some games, all enemies work for one big bad guy, but here there's no clear villain, and we have an odd mix of undead knights, giants, titanite demons, and snake people. But if you do a little digging, you'll find that they didn't end up there for the same reasons. To start, they used the undead knight enemies to illustrate the point that this is a great trial few have passed. For example, drops from the Balder Knights describe a king who brought his elite warriors on a journey to Anor Londo, and it looks like they failed to get there because they're hanging out in Sen's fortress in a hollowed state, which is basically this degeneration of the undead from sentient humans to these rabid zombies. So not only are you passing the trial of Sen's fortress, but you also have to fight all the guys who failed it. Then we have the giants, the demons, and some snake people. The giants, I think, were actually supposed to guard the fortress. A giant opens the gate after you ring the bells. You have giants loading up these cannonball trap machines, giants throwing fireballs, and the final boss is a giant golem. So it seems these giants have been ordered or programmed to do these tasks to test the knights. Then the Titanite demons. You can find them in the hellish demon homeworld, basically, which tells me that much like the other demons in the world, they've kind of broken free and are wandering about, and they're a sign of the apocalypse of the world. So my theory is that their existence in the fortress is not as a test for knights, but because the world's falling apart. But then, finally, we have the snake people, which I find the most interesting, because you only see these snake people in Sen's fortress and then in the crazy dragon Seath's library. And just to recap really quickly, Seath was a lonely dragon who wasn't like the other dragons, so he turned against them and now he just does weird experiments. In any case, you see them in Seath's library, guarding prison cells. They seem pretty with it. They aren't just mindless monsters attacking whatever they find. They have a purpose. That also makes me think Seath sent these guys to Sen's fortress to make sure no one could get to his library in Anor Londo. So in the end, I think only the giants were actually supposed to be there to test people to get into the city of the gods, but the demons are just a sign of the times. The undead knights were other people who had failed, and then the snake people are Seath's minions because he wants to make sure no one can intrude on his library. To conclude this, these are the kind of stories only a game could tell, and so I think it's great to take gameplay elements, no matter what genre you're working with, and subvert them to twist the player's expectations, like putting the bonfire out, or to use item descriptions as a non-linear way to just provide little supplementary blurbs that might lead to greater conclusions. And then I think it's really important when you're designing enemies or spaces to think about why are those spaces there, what do they mean in the context of the overall world, Why are the enemies there? What are their motivations? In any case, there's so many more examples of great environmental storytelling, so I'd like to keep doing more of these case studies. Feel free to leave me suggestions for your favorite games that are good at this, or just any delicious moment where the narrative and gameplay blended together. But anyway, guys, most importantly, have a happy day wherever you are. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.